Hey, welcome to Perth's Backyard Veg. Today we're going to be showing you how we built this DIY chicken coop. Now this is part 2 in our chicken coop building series. This is an ongoing series, so make sure that you've hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when the next video comes out. Alright, let's get into the video. In part 1 of this video we showed you how we got to this stage in our project. The link is down in the description box below if you haven't seen that yet. After we constructed the frame, we started cutting all of the pieces that we were going to need. So here we're cutting the MDF that we're going to be lining the inside of the coop with. This creates a waterproof lining so that we can have our deep litter system inside of there. After we cut those pieces, we put in some supporting beams in the base of the frame here, and in the back we also put some that are perpendicular to these ones you can see in the base, but we lost the footage of that. Now we're just using 16mm 6-gauge screws to attach the marine grey plywood to the back of the frame. Now this will help the coop stand up against the weather, as it is going to be uncovered outside, but once the roof is on it does offer a level of protection, but we just wanted to make sure that the material we were using was suitable. Our next step in this project was actually to make the frames of the doors. We wanted to be able to make the frames so that we could hang them on the main coop and check for the allowance of the swing, the spacing between the doors, so that we could put the front support beams in exactly the right spot and we wouldn't run into the issue of not having enough room at the end. Now this method that we're using here is not the method we ended up using to create the doors. We didn't like the look of the screws sticking out in the corner, so we actually drilled those same 16mm 6-gauge screws through the back of the plywood so that you would have no screws visible from the front. Here they are hanging up. We just used the clamps to hold them in place so that we could see the spacing and put in those support beams. After we worked out where those beams were going to go, we decided that we needed to clad the inside of the coop first because we would have a lot easier access now. So we're just using liquid nails on those support beams and then placing down those pieces of MDF that we cut earlier. And we are doing the same for the back. We just put these little support blocks in the corner because we wanted something to attach the MDF to. Then I just pressed down on the MDF to create a firm contact, and then after all of the pieces were done, we just held these pieces down just to get that extra contact and strong bond. Okay, so moving on to the doors again, we're attaching the MDF to the frames that we used before, and hopefully you can see here, but the frame is actually slightly shorter than the piece of MDF. We wanted an overhanging bit so that the second door can close onto it. Next we added the support beam to the right hand side of the coop so that we could attach the nesting box. Now this seems to be another piece of footage that we have lost, but we created a rectangular frame for the door side of the nesting box, and then we attached the 3 floor pieces that you can see here so that we can drill through the bottom supporting beam into each of those pieces. Now we're attaching the pieces that are going to act as the roof, and they are cut at a 10-degree angle just like the top pieces of the coop frame. Now we're going to be using our diagonal drill and screw method here. We then cut some oddly shaped pieces of MDF. These are going into the top bit of the coop inside, above the nesting box and above the chicken's door to the coop. Just cutting out some notches here so that we can fit this MDF around those supporting beams inside of the coop. We're attaching these MDF pieces the same way as we attach the others. Liquid nails on the supporting beams, apply some pressure, and then we put some clamps so that it wouldn't fall down, and we are putting MDF on this piece here as well. And now we are pretty much done with the cladding of the inside of the coop. We then made our removable roosting bar. So we wanted to be able to take the roosting bar out so that we could clean it, or if we were trying to clean the inside of the coop and it was in the way, then we could just move it. So we made some U brackets. This way the piece of wood that we were using for the roosting bar could just slide into there. So we wanted to make a cutout that was the same width and depth as this piece of wood. We then set the circular saw to the depth of the wood and made a lot of little cuts along the outline that we had made. We then chiseled those out and used a file to make it nice and smooth so that the roosting bar piece of wood would sit nice and flush, and you can see here that it slots in very nicely. We then repeated this process to make a second bracket and then set the circular saw back to its original depth to cut these pieces out. Now we're attaching it to the inside of the coop And as you can see here, we use an extra piece of wood and some clamps so that we could prop this bracket up and make it easy to screw in place and ensure that it was level the whole time. Now it's time to add the roosting bar, and this is what it looks like with that installed. We finished pretty much everything we need to do inside of the coop for the moment, so now we've put the doors back up and we measured the distance, the gap, the swing, and we're adding in these front support beams so that we can do the rest of the external cladding. So we're just drilling straight through the top here with our 10 gauge 60mm screws to go down into those support beams, and then we do the same from underneath as well. Time to cut out some more of our marine grade plywood so that we can clad the outside of the coop. So these pieces here, nice straightforward rectangles that we're cutting out for the front here, and we're going to follow the same method using this liquid nail, applying pressure to push this piece down, and then we're going to get some clamps in there to hold it while the liquid nails is setting. The left hand side of the coop is a little bit more challenging, so we took the maximum height of that wall and we just cut out a rectangle. Now we've clamped it to the side and we're drawing a line that matches the pitch of the roof. We're also marking where the opening of the door is. We then took it back to the table and used the circular saw to cut the angle for that roof there. Next, we lined up those markings that we made for the door and we made our measurements. So we wanted a 20cm by 30cm door opening so that we could install the omelette automatic chicken coop door after we had built the coop. We have an installation guide coming out on that soon, so if you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when it comes out. Right, now we are cutting out the door. We only used a circular saw, a drill, and an angle grinder for this project in terms of power tools. So instead of using a jigsaw to cut the door out, we drilled a hole in each corner and then we got the jab saw and we cut out that rectangle shape. Then just grabbed the trusty old file and filed off the rough edges. The next step, attaching it to the coop, is pretty similar to the rest. Putting the liquid nails along those support beams, and then we're attaching this MDF piece onto there, applying pressure to make sure that it bonds, and then putting the clamps on there until it sets. Alright, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of the chicken coop build. If you know another chicken and DIY enthusiast that might like this video series, then be sure to share that with them. It really helps out our channel. And again, like I said at the start, if you're not subscribed already, subscribe, hit that notification bell. This is an ongoing series and you'll get notified when a new video comes out. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.